The first item of business is the approval of the minutes from our September meeting. That was provided to you by email. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I move that they be adopted, Mike.
Okay, so unless there's objection, the minutes shall be deemed approved by common consent. I'd like to ask the commission's indulgence, as I often do, that we skip over the chair's report and the staff liaison report and move directly to our first item of new business. And that is really a discussion with Eugene Peterson, who's the chair of the Human Relations Commission of Anne Arundel County, regarding possible joint projects with the City Human Relations Commission. I'd like to thank Gene for taking the time to join us for this conversation this evening.
Mike, could I introduce him and discuss our conversations?
That's exactly what I had in mind, Chuck.
Thanks, Mike. Gene and I knew each other in our previous lives in highway safety. Gene was the director of the Washington State Highway Safety Program and the Traffic Safety Commission out there, and then national chair of the Governor's Highway Safety Association. And I was with the National Safety Council and Matt at the time. But he and I have had two great catch-up meetings and discussions that in short would be as follows: that he has proposed a really terrific idea of picking up where we left off on County Executive Pittman's Hate Bias Summit, which I think was either February or March of 2020, just as we were about to enter COVID. And Gene can explain it better than I, but it was a great presentation of viewpoints and also had some recommendations for us, which because of COVID haven't really received the attention they really deserve. And to which I would add that I think it'd be great for both commissions to reach out to the community, go to wherever we can get an audience of church groups and perhaps in the HACA projects here in Annapolis and elsewhere, to not only talk about the recommendations of that Hate Bias Summit, but also talk with them about what the county commission and the city commission are chartered to do and how they can perhaps make use of our services. And with that, I would gladly introduce my friend Eugene Peterson. I'm sorry, say again, please. Hello, Mike, can you hear me? Mike, could you hear me, and could you hear what I said before?
He's muted.
I'm not sure. Am I muted? Because it doesn't show me.
No, Mike is muted.
Oh, Mike is muted. I'm sorry.
I have now unmuted myself. I had a telephone start to ring, and I didn't want people to be bothered by the constant ring of it. No, I heard everything that you said.
Great. Okay. Is Gene on the line? Are you there, Gene?
Gene is muted.
Gene is muted. Yeah.
Gene, could you unmute?
Gene, let me point to my ear here.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
I sure can, Gene. Welcome.
Gene.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to join your meeting. I was hoping that our liaison, Ms. Hatcher, would be on the meeting, but I see that.
I am. I'm here, Chairman Peterson.
Oh, you are? Good.
Yes.
Lakeisha, I'm glad you're here. And Lakeisha can augment what I'm going to say, I would say. I have had 2 meetings with Chuck, Mr. Hurley. We go back a long ways, as he said. And
Maybe 30 years.
Too many to talk about right now. And we talked about a collaborative effort between the Human Relations Commission and the of Annapolis and the County Human Relations Commission to kind of mirror what we did with the successful forum that we held on race theory. I'm trying to think of the name.
Critical race theory, right?
Critical
It
race
was excellent.
theory. Thank you. And we got a lot of positive feedback on that. And so Chuck and I, on his initiative, started to talk about what could we do. There are 2 things that we should consider, I believe. One is that, as you all know, your commission not only serves Annapolis, but there's a spillover into the county portions in the county council district. I think that Councilwoman Rodvine is the council member. And so, as has been done in the past, there could be an effort to do a forum, or if it were more than one, a couple of forums in the greater Annapolis area. To do anything countywide, we would have to, and Lakeisha would agree with this, we would have to go back to the commission, talk to them about certain proposals we have, and then get commission consent to move forward on a wider scale. That brings me to what will we talk about. One of the ideas that Chuck and I talked about was the fact that the commission participated in a hate bias forum, and I think many of you attended that at Arundel Community College.
Yeah.
There were breakout sessions, there was data collected, and so what could happen is for a subcommittee with membership from the Annapolis Commission and the County Human Rights Commission and the County Commission to look at the data and look at things that could be presented. For example, the county police department collects data on hate bias complaints, and they cast a wider net than the state, because the state has, by legislation, a very prescriptive way of identifying a hate crime or a hate bias issue. The county gathers a lot, has a broader net, and they have mapped it out so that you can see where the hot spots are in the county. And we have included that kind of information in our annual report that we give to the county council on an annual basis. Feel free to access our page on the county website and take a look at that report and see what kind of data that the police department collects. The police department, we've also talked with them about, and I believe there are efforts on the county's part that they can collect a lot of different kinds of data. So we could take a look at what that data would tell us. One of the interesting things about the data that the police department collects is they don't just look at proposed or alleged incidents in the county in general, they also look at the public school system. And so that data also is represented. And in the reports that the county does, they identify the complaint, they identify where it was referred, they identify whatever action was taken, and that's all part of their data. So it would be, I think, interesting for county residents to know that there's an ongoing concern in the county about hate bias issues, and data is being collected. Also, there is interest, I think, in the commission in terms of looking at long-range planning for the commission, and of course, hate bias incidents, alleged incidents would be one of the issues that the commission would be very interested in. In summary, that was one thing that we looked at, and getting the actors together. You know, having somebody from the police department on a panel, perhaps having somebody who's an academic on the panel. We used academics, or a couple of academics in the critical race theory forum, having student representation on a panel. And so that format would be one that I would think would yield some results. And what I mean by yield results would get some people to attend it, and then we could gauge through a follow-up survey how people felt about what was the information that we presented. I think it's very important that we don't take a slant on these issues, that we're providing information, letting people be aware of resources that are available, and also ongoing action. Because I know that the Caucus of African American Leaders, for example, has initiated a meeting that will have the federal government, county government, et cetera, there to talk about how hate bias activities and incidents like the ones that happened in Odenton with the church are addressed, and what kind of penalties can be assessed for this kind of activity. There are other issues that I hope that the subcommittee would look at beyond simply this hate bias proposed form, that could include just a look at those kind of issues that promote unity, and those kind of issues that detract from unity. For example, the commission is hosting an event at Downs Park on October 20th, a unity event. It'll be a tree lighting ceremony at Downs Park near the amphitheater there. And the focus will be on getting residents from the Pasadena community, the larger Pasadena community, and students who go to both Northeast and Chesapeake High School to attend the event, and through a number of different actions, pledge to promote unity. So these are kinds of things that the commission has been actively looking at. I've talked about the potential hate bias form, using the data from the breakout sessions that was was already collected as a result of the hate bias forum that happened at Arundel Community College. And so what I would like to end with is proposing that we work together. And Lakeisha, I would ask you to be our point person as the liaison, and we'll solicit help from other commission members to work on a subcommittee to flesh all this out. And Lakeisha, I'll turn it over to you if you have anything to add.
Thank you, Chairman Peterson. I think you've pretty much covered a lot of the bases from what my previous discussion was. And Councilman Hurley, my apologies. I was supposed to reach out to you. I've just been crazy with work.
Not a problem.
But I will be reaching out to you so we can start getting some things planned and on paper. So pretty much, I think what the basis of are coming together is to not only start to do a little more outreach to get the public, get awareness out to as to who we are and how do we serve our community, but to also come together and maybe come up with some potential solutions when we have issues like, you know, these hate bias incidents and things, and how's the community responding, and what can we do to better? So this will be a unified front. We need as many as possible once we start getting some really good ideas, and to also start really planning out how do we want to really apply this unified collaboration. So as I said, Commissioner Hurley, I will be reaching out to you, and so we can start maybe coming up with some ideas and start setting up some meetings to get people involved.
Couldn't agree more. Commissioner Joshua Hatch also has begun some work, and I'm sorry we missed a phone call. I tried to get back to you, left a message, Joshua, but in terms of looking at traffic stops by the Annapolis PD, maybe we could include that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I really think that it would be very advantageous for the two commissions to follow up on the excellent forum which was done in February of 2020 at Anne Arundel Community College, and was organized by the county executive. Included a lot of really good speakers. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit in full force just about 2 weeks later, and all of the momentum for that very important project seemed to come to a halt. And so I think this would be a very good time to resurrect the data that we had from that event, as well as the most recent hate bias report that has been prepared by the Maryland State Police, and to hold an information session about it under the auspices of saying we're following up to this very successful event, which there was going to be additional follow-ups afterwards, but they really fell victim to the pandemic. But that doesn't mean that we can't go back and pick up that information. I'm also very enthusiastic about the efforts that have been made by various organizations in the county, notably the Caucus of African American Leaders under Carl Snowden's leadership, to create a mechanism for responding quickly to hate crimes and incidents in the county. And the Human Relations Commission of Annapolis will indeed do that. If we learn, we do have a protocol arrangement with the Annapolis Police that if there is an officer's report which reports that that there was a hate crime or hate incident in the city, that they will inform us of it, and we will immediately reach out to the individuals who are affected. If it's a hate crime, that will remain in the hands of the police. If it's a hate incident, that is, it's an act of hate, but it is not prosecutable under the law for constitutional reasons. But still, that can be extremely upsetting to people to have really vicious, racist, and other kinds of disgusting literature left at their doorstep. I know the Annapolis Commission is determined to follow up on every single one of those that occurs within the city. You know, recognizing that if it occurs outside, that's the jurisdiction of our counterparts from the county. So I would definitely like to keep that on the list as well.
Great.
And if
Very much so.
if there is an incident, and I know that Eugene spoke to this earlier, if there is an incident that occurs in County Council District 6, which would encompass areas of both for the City Human Relations Commission as well as the county. The City Commission has talked about holding a public forum, public meeting in that community to educate people as to how they can respond to acts of hate which have occurred in their jurisdiction. Most people think, oh, we can just ignore these groups, just ignore them. That's the worst thing to do, because those groups take silence as being from supporters. What you need to do is you need to publicly denounce them.
Absolutely.
And make it so that the local media pick that up. And that's what the organizations such as the organization, the Poverty Law Center, has strongly recommended that you affirmatively respond to it. So I think this would be something, if it occurs in County Council District 6, that we could cooperate with both the county as well as have the City Human Relations Commission involved in this. And the City Commission would be willing to take the lead on that. Had in a situation where we would be able to take the lead on that. So I think these are some really good ideas in terms of it. I would I know that we've got from the commission, Lakeisha and Chuck from the two commissions are especially interested in being on this small group. If there are other commissioners from the City Commission who would like to serve on it, please let me know, and I will definitely get your names to Chuck and Lakeisha.
I'd like to say that I'm in full support of what Mike has said, and I believe that there's some opportunities for us to get information about what's already established. I know we at the commission had the police department give us a presentation on what are hate violence active groups, who are they, what does the police department do to monitor this stuff? And I don't think people know enough about the whole issue. So that could be part of the agenda and should be part of the agenda, I believe. And in terms of the issue of police stops, I think that one of the things that needs to be understood is how the county addresses stops in general. I don't know if you've ever watched a stop, but if you'll notice, if a police vehicle stops and the vehicle is commanded by a white officer, they call another vehicle, and that vehicle, I believe, has a person of color in it. They're trying to do that. So it would be good to ask the police department how their training works and what they train about. They do train on chokeholds. They train on shooting at cars. The only problem I have with that is that once when I talked to the former police chief, he said some things that are awful are lawful. And I think it's time for this county to basically decide that chokeholds are not lawful, shooting at cars from police from police vehicles is not lawful. Baltimore County initiated legislation a couple of years ago that addressed this. We haven't done that in Anne Arundel County. I think it's time to do that. And maybe both of our commissions could be a catalyst to make that happen. Because I believe that it's one thing to train officers to do the right thing. It's another thing if they know that if they don't follow the proper procedures, they will be legally responsible for what happens. And that is not the law in Anne Arundel County right now.
Amen.
Okay, are there any other thoughts or comments with regard to what has been discussed here? I think we definitely have a roadmap.
I
would like to ask, Commissioner Hatch, I would like you to respond, I think, briefly to what Eugene Peterson had to say, and any other thoughts that you have about this, since you have done shown real leadership on this whole issue of the police stops.
Thank you. I'd just like to say that there are many things that are put into policy for many agencies that are not followed, including the police department. And until we start to actually collect that information and come together and start holding them accountable, is going to continue to happen, including these traffic stops. Looking at the data that suggests whether or not officers are adhering to policy when it comes to traffic stops, how they're supposed to perform them. So I like the idea of a presentation. What I was going to ask Mr. Peterson was, when exactly did the department give this presentation, and whether or not they provided any information to the commission for the county, and has there been any data collected since the presentation has been given?
We asked them to give a presentation on hate bias issues and address that. We did not talk about police stops. It was Lakeisha, I'm wondering, I think you may have attended that meeting. So I can't remember exactly when it was. I think it was a couple of our meetings, 2 meetings ago. It was a thorough presentation. We have a liaison, Major Hassan Bush, and he's available to talk about these issues with any community group. We'd be happy to share his information. I could talk to Major Hassan Bush about this, and if you want him to address any issues that you're talking about with the county, I'm sure he would be happy to do that.
Yes, and if I could just add as well, it's been a few months since we actually had someone from the police office that actually did the presentation, but we do get reports, I believe, monthly reports or something of that nature, of how many, hate bias incidents, accidents, things of that nature that has occurred. But yeah, I think it's definitely possible to connect to our liaison to make sure we have the most accurate information and get some input from them as well.
Yes, I mean, we've been doing the Caucus of African American Leaders, especially under the Public Safety Committee, which I chair. We've been doing work so far as, addressing various departments. And often what we find is that there are incidents that occur where officers are not following policy, And there's some concerns in the community. So I think that this is a great idea. I did follow up with Annapolis Police Department about the data review, Commissioner Hurley, and I'm waiting to receive a response
Okay.
back. But what I will do is I'll circle back with you after this
Great.
meeting and talk to you about how we can also include the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission as well.
Terrific. And Joshua, I hope you would consider joining this joint effort with the county as we talk about, issues to pursue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Great.
Please.
Great. I might before you there are two events upcoming in Annapolis that folks should be aware of that Chairman Peterson referred to. One is a hearing on lynching history in Annapolis, which is this Saturday, October 8th at 9 a.m. in City Council chambers. And a second that Chairman Peterson referred to is a hearing sponsored by the Caucus of African American Leaders on the church desecrations, which I'm not sure I have independent knowledge, but I believe there have been 9 desecrations of churches and synagogues in Anne Arundel County in recent months. And that would occur at 5 p.m. And I don't have the location. Perhaps someone else, Joshua, do you know what date was, a church desecration meeting that I will find out and maybe we can send it out with the minutes, Mike.
I'd just like to add in conclusion that if you look at the maps the map in our annual report, and we've verified this with the police, the highest rate of incidents of hate bias that alleged incidents that occur in 2 councilmanic districts. One is a district in Pasadena, and the other one is a district in Glen Burnie. And that's of concern, should be of concern to all citizens in Anne Arundel County. And I guess the real issue that should be proposed to the county council, whatever its composition, and whoever the county executive is if you know you have hot spots, how are we addressing these communities? What needs to be done in the school system in terms of providing adequate, equitable resources in a variety of areas? And how do we get long-term residents to understand that county demographics are changing, the world is changing, the world isn't coming to an end, and getting to know other people is not a bad thing because they may be right and you could be wrong. And I'll end with that. And thank you for allowing me to join your meeting tonight.
Now, this has been a very, very helpful and productive discussion, Eugene. And thank you so much for joining us. And also thank Lakeisha, who's been a very faithful representative from the County Human Relations Commission to our commission. Well, I will pledge to get out an email within the next few hours after this meeting, shortly thereafter, to see if there's any other commissioners that would like, city commissioners that would like to join Chuck Hurley in this effort. Eugene, I do have one question. I know that the Maryland State Police occasionally release the hate bias report. How frequently do they do that? Every year or every other year? Do you recall?
It's done every year, but again, the numbers you will see reported by Anne Arundel County differ from the ones at the state, and that would be a good discussion to have Major Hassenpush come and talk about, because we cast a wider net, and so the numbers are different, but there's a certain kind of symmetry you can see to where alleged incidents occur. That's important for people to know, because they may pull up the state report and then pull up the Anne Arundel report and say, who's telling the truth? And the fact is that both reports are valid. It's just a different way of accounting for alleged incidents.
Gene, am I right that in a recent state police report, Anne Arundel County, and therefore also the city, had the highest, I think it was 24 incidents or something, the highest number in the state? Am I right about that? It was one of the highest.
I think that was 2 years ago.
Yes,
Okay.
it was 2 years ago.
I don't know what
Okay.
the current data is, but the data is different. The pandemic impacted that. And now we're seeing an increase in incidents, not incidents, but alleged incidents and reported incidents, unfortunately, in the public school system.
Yes.
I would
Well,
just
let's
like
light a
to,
candle. Let's light a bunch of candles.
well, I would just like to mention also that the vice chair of the commission, Edith Knight, is also on this call this evening by
Okay.
telephone. So she has been here for a while. Okay, I think it has been really productive, and I'll follow up on this. And I can think that there's at least one project we can get started on right away, and that is the forum related to hate bias incidents as a follow-up of the program that was held at the community college. And I think using the breakout group data as well as the hate bias reports, I think will be, as well as other information, I think will be very, very good to have this joint forum between both sponsored by both the city and the county human relations commissions.
Yeah, I might say that.
I think that's a very, very good start for us.
I might say that I called Georgia Noon Sherrard, who runs the conflict resolution center, which collected the data, and she will get back to me, and I'll know what the status of the information they collected is, and I'll get back to you, Mike, on that.
Okay, very, very good, Gene. Okay, I think we have, are there any other comments to be made on this discussion? I think this has been extremely helpful and has gotten us to some real specific areas that we can move in very, very quickly. So I'd like to applaud everybody for their contributions this evening. Looking at our agenda, Claudia Barber, Judge Barber, who is a staff liaison to the commission, indicated that she does not have a report tonight, nor do I. So what that's going to do is going to bring us to the item 6B on the agenda, and that's the complaint of Charles H. Parker. Now, everybody can remain. Others are free to remain for this discussion. The commission is an open meeting policies following the state law. And there's nothing here that we're presenting which would be deemed confidential. Otherwise, I would have to consider going into executive session, but we do not, in my judgment, we don't need to do that. However, when there are votes on this, only city commissioners can vote on this. Let me give you some very brief background in this case. The city commissioners are fully aware, or should be, because they were all sent information about it, the specific copy of the complaint form, as well as some additional information that was supplied to us by email. And I'm just going to read that to you. Ordinarily, something of this nature would go through our usual process, which goes through the complaints committee. But because of the timeliness of this and the fact that we won't have another commission meeting until November, it's my personal opinion and that of Helen Leach, who's chair of our complaints committee, that we handle this in a parliamentary fashion by moving into what's called committee of the whole. In other words, basically meaning that we will serve both as the commission as well as the complaints committee. And to do that involves a few parliamentary steps. But let me tell you, let me read the complaint, and I think you'll see why it's necessary for us to move quickly on this. This is the note from Mr. Parker. It complements what he said in writing in his complaint form. Dear HR Commission, I may have been a victim of racial discrimination at the Graduate Hotel restaurant on September 17th at approximately 10 a.m. While attempting to purchase breakfast, no one came to serve me, although I checked in with the hostess. I was never given a menu or a glass of water. I did notice that I was the only African-American male patron in the restaurant at that time. I spoke to the front desk manager, Alan, and sent an email to Sherry, the manager on duty, but I still was never served. Is this an issue that your commission can assist with? The commission has very briefly initiated a response to him in an email, which basically said that we have authority that may benefit him. Very specifically, this is a case of possible discrimination in the area of public accommodations. And following both the city code as well as the commission's complaint procedures, the first step that we would do is to seek whether or not the parties wish to mediate this complaint. Mr. Parker, in his complaint form, said that he is willing to mediate the complaint with the responding party. So what needs to happen tonight is the Human Relations Commission, the City Human Relations Commission, needs to vote to say that it would support pursuing mediation in this case. The specific way of the way we will vote, if it passes, is to first move the commission into a committee of the whole, then take action on this and this issue alone, and then move back out of the committee of the whole. But we have to vote in favor of the commission moving into the committee of the whole. Again, it's a parliamentary procedure. It's covered in Robert's Rules for Order. I know what I do here. So first of all, I would like to ask the commissioners, are there any objections to using this parliamentary procedure in this case? Any objections to it?
No.
No.
Okay, all right. Again, there was a view of both Commissioner Leach, the chair of our complaints committee, and me, that we really needed to move on this. And so the chair will entertain a motion. Chair will entertain a motion to move into a committee of the whole. Is there such a motion?
Also move.
Okay, it's moved that the commission move into committee of the whole. It's been seconded by Commissioner Hurley. We now have discussion. Is there any discussion on the motion to move into committee of the whole? Hearing none, the chair will take a vote. Those in favor of doing, again, only members of the city commission vote, please. All those who are in favor of moving into the committee of the whole indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, those opposed say no. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. We're now in the committee of the whole, and the chair will entertain a motion that the commission pursue mediation in the complaint of Charles H. Parker. Is there a second for such a motion, or is there someone willing to make such a motion?
Also move.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Leach. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Hurley. Okay, any discussion? Now we're discussing whether or not, basically whether or not to approve that the commission pursue mediation in the complaint of Charles H. Parker. Any discussion or debate? Hearing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, but two of our commissioners are muted, so you're not hearing them.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm sort of waiting to see if you're right. They really should be unmuted. But,
Yeah, Diane, you and Edith, they're both muted.
Okay, well, we can proceed. They can hear us. So if they want to unmute, they can do so. They are present at the meeting, so they are participating in this. So what we're doing here is the vote that we're taking now is whether or not the commission supports pursuing mediation in the case of Mr. Parker. Those who are in favor of this indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, those opposed say no. Okay, the motion passes. Will be recorded as having been approved unanimously. And now we've got to take a vote to move out of the committee of the whole. Is there a motion is someone willing to make a motion to move out of the committee of the whole?
Also move.
Moved by Commissioner Leach and seconded by Commissioner Hurley. Any discussion to move out of the committee of the whole? Hearing none, those are in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Okay, those opposed say no. Okay, so we're now out of the committee of the whole. I think that's the first time we've ever used that in here, at least since that I can remember, but I think this was the right decision to make. Okay, what's going to happen now as a result of this? What's going to happen is I've already asked Commissioner Leach that in the event that if the commission voted to do this, that she would place a telephone call to the Graduate Hotel Restaurant to find out the name of the person who is responsible for managing that restaurant and get that person's name and address. Then Commissioner Leach, having obtained that information, would share it with me. Then a letter will go out to both Charles H. Parker and to the person from the Graduate Hotel Restaurant. Mr. Parker would be informed that the commission has voted to accept his complaint and pursue it through mediation, and add in the letter that if the other party's not willing to mediate it, or they're not able to come up with a resolution, the commission does have other areas of authority that it can act on. We will send a similar letter to the Graduate Hotel Restaurant. They will be sent a letter basically saying this complaint has been filed. They will be given, that person will be given a copy of the complaint form, as well as a summary that was provided to us by email, and then basically ask whether they would be willing to engage in a mediation with Mr. Parker. And the letter will explain what mediation is. We'll explain in the letter what mediation is. If the parties agree to mediation, both parties have to agree to hold a mediation. Then we will contact the Arundel Conflict Resolution Center, which conducts these mediations. They don't charge for it, and then it'll be in their hands. If the restaurant says no, we don't want to do that, then the commission does have other areas that it can move in, specifically by referring the complaint, if the commission so chooses, to refer the complaint. That referral would go to the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, if we choose to do that. If we did, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I wanted the commission to understand where we're going down the road on this particular matter. Are there any other comments or questions related to the complaint of Charles H. Parker? Okay, moving right along to item C. It's a selection of the recipient of the commission's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award at the King Memorial Breakfast in January. And I was contacted by Gene Peterson, who is the chair of that event. And he was basically asking that we have our nominees in by October 31st. Now, the only nomination I received came from Judge Barber, and she nominated Joshua Hatch. Joshua certainly has really excelled in terms of his work in the civil rights area and other work in the city. There's one little problem, and the problem is the commission has a policy, and has had a policy since I've served on it, that any kind of award like this, such as an award by the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Breakfast Committee, any person receiving the award can't be a member of the commission. Because what you have is a situation where it looks like the commission is handing out awards to its own members. So I really personally would not like to make a precedent on that and give it to an incumbent member of the commission. That's my personal view. But we received no other nominations. There are two ways we can proceed. One would be for someone to be nominated here that we could discuss, or two, the commission can refer this to the outreach committee of the Human Relations Commission, and allow the outreach committee to come up with a nominee and basically act for the commission in this particular case. Those are two ways that it could go. There's a third way too, in that it can not honor its past policy of not making awards to incumbent commissioners. But what's the will of the commission? I would like to have a resolution this evening of some kind, so that we know that by October 31st, we'll have a name to submit to Eugene Peterson. Recognize Commissioner Hurley.
Mike, is there another option? Is it possible to honor Joshua's organization, Freedom Fighters, and not have him specifically named?
No, I think we could do that. I'm trying to remember whether they've ever honored an organization, but I don't think that it's. I don't think that it would be unprecedented. We've given posthumous awards in the past, and I think in some cases we've given awards to individuals from the same organization, basically honor the organization and highlight two people. So the answer to your question, Commissioner Hurley, would be, I think if the commission wanted to honor the organization, then I think we could do so. I will, if the commission goes for that, I will contact Mr. Peterson and say, this is who we've selected. I think I'd want to get the support from Commissioner Hatch for our doing that, and then inform Commissioner or talk to Chair Peterson and saying, this is how we're going this year, and do you have any objections? And if he doesn't have any objections, then it'll stand. If he does have objections, then I'll get back to the commission about it. How does that sound?
I defer to Joshua. Okay.
I'd like to be the last to actually comment. I don't want to seem like I'm, steering here. So if the other commissioner present would like to make a comment, I'd like to be the last one to make a comment, please.
Mike,
Okay.
can I make it in the form of a motion so that we could discuss it? Or you don't need that maybe?
Oh, I don't think we really need that at this time until
Okay.
until we arrive at an answer. I mean, we can make a motion to do that, but I think that I would not make that motion before we've heard from Commissioner Hatch.
Okay.
And I don't hear anybody else asking to speak. I see Diane Graham is turned on the old picture show. So hi,
You're muted, Diane.
Okay, Commissioner Hatch, you're on the
Well,
on the floor here.
well, thank you for considering the organization itself, Freedom Fighters, because it's not a one-man show. There are a lot of people that work behind the scenes in order to fulfill our mission, which is to help individuals to seamlessly reintegrate back into the community. We will be honored to accept the award. There's someone who I think shoulders the responsibility of the organization more than me, and I'd say my mother, Monica, who does an excellent job with making sure that I stay on my A game, or the organization when it's A game. So I would like for her to be the person to receive the reward on behalf of the organization.
Oh. Okay, I think this is time for a motion, Commissioner Hurley. Okay, you can make your motion.
I would nominate that we name Joshua Hatch's mother. I'm sorry, I don't know her full name, but in behalf of the freedom fighters, and again, make the comment. I mean, Wes Moore appeared before the caucus last month and said that every prison sentence in Maryland is a life sentence. That with the restrictions that are placed on former offenders, that they can't live in public housing, that they can't get a Pell Grant to pursue their education, and goes more. That isn't, in my view, that isn't what we want to be. And I think Freedom Fighters really exemplifies making sure that returning citizens get the full benefit of their citizenship. So I think it's if that is Josh's wish, that his mother be named as the recipient for Freedom Fighters, but that Freedom Fighters also be, the focus. I think that'd be great.
Okay, so do we have a motion that what actually, Commissioner Hatch, what is your mother's name? We do send her under her name.
Her name is Monica, Monica, last
Right.
name Hatch. And of
Okay.
course, you know how to spell that name.
Yeah, I figured I'd know how to spell both of them, but so the motion that I think the chair would invite is that the commission's Dr. Martin Luther King Award at the breakfast in January be awarded to Monica Hatch on behalf of the Freedom Fighters. And Commissioner Hatch, I would ask if you could send me about a half-page summary of what the organization's all about. And also, it's very important, this is important, serious, that you ask your mother if she's willing to accept the award. That's important because we got to have someone to accept the award. So we can proceed in that way if the motion is approved. So Commissioner Hurley, did you want to make this motion?
I would make that motion, Mike, that we honor Monica Hatch on behalf of the Freedom Fighters for the great work as the commission's honoree for the Martin Luther King Award.
Okay. Is there a second for the motion?
Since I'm the only one not muted, I'll do it. I wish these people
Okay.
would unmute themselves.
Okay, that's good. That's all right, Helen. They can hear you. I think if they suddenly decided they wanted to, they would come off of mute. So, okay, so it's been moved and seconded that the Annapolis Human Relations Commission's award at the Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial Breakfast in January go to Monica Hatch, who will be making the presentation on behalf of freedom fighters. Okay, any discussion? Okay, we're going to move to a vote. I would invite Diane and Edith to unmute themselves, but if they don't want to, they don't have to. So we're going to proceed with a vote. Those who are in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The minutes shall record that the motion passed unanimously. I'd like to thank the commissioners for a successful outcome for this. And as always, we'll be contacting, we'll work through with Judge Barber to see if the commission can have its customary tickets to the event. Although my last communication from Mr. Peterson was that they were still deciding whether or not to hold it in person or continue holding it virtually. So that decision has not yet been reached. Hey, our final item this evening is report from the Human Relations Commission of Anne Arundel County and the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. And the representatives from both organizations are still here today, are still on, but I see both of them are muted. So I would just like to ask, first of all, I'd like to ask Lakeisha if she has anything more that she would like to say regarding the Human Relations Commission of the county. Lakeisha, if you do have something to say, we need you to unmute yourself. Okay, well, not hearing from her, then I'm going to go across the screen to Najeri, who is the representative from the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, and like to ask Najeri if you have anything you'd like to share about the work of the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights. Yes.
No, I have nothing at this time. Just wanted to say you all continue to do this great work, and I appreciate you all letting me be here.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Najeri.
you.
Thank you, Najeri, and thank you for joining us, and thank Lakeisha for joining us as well. That concludes our formal agenda this evening. Is there any other business to be brought before the commission this evening? Okay. If not, is there someone who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
So motion.
Okay. And is there a second for that motion? Okay, it's seconded by Chuck Hurley. All right. So unless there is an objection, and I hear none, the Human Relations Commission of the City of Annapolis is formally adjourned. Thank you all for